Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing an ocean inspired nail set because it is the middle of the summer, and what better time to make one than now. As usual, I already extended and prepped my nails for filming. Here I'm just wiping them with alcohol to remove any dust, oils or debris that might still be on the surface. I'm going to start the design by applying a milky white jelly gel on the thumb, middle finger and a ring finger. These nails are going to have a marble effect as the base. I am going to layer so many different gels on top of this one. So honestly, this white layer wasn't really necessary in the end. But next I'm placing these super thin iridescent foil flakes randomly across the nails, so I needed some kind of sticky base for them to stick onto. Then I'm grabbing my painting gel palette and I'm taking the sky blue shade and applying it in a random diagonal streak across each nail. I'm using this little sponge to blend it out, and I ended up doing 2 layers to make the color a little bit more opaque. Although once again there's going to be so much stuff layered on top of it that I feel like this step was also not very necessary. It's there in spirit, I guess. Then I'm adding a little bit of this purple padding gel there as well. And next I'm mixing 2 of those super transparent jelly gels together. The blue was a little too bright, so I mixed in a tiny bit of black jelly gel to just mute it down into more of an ocean blue. I am applying it in the same general pattern as before, trying to create those natural, organic looking lines. And next I'm taking this periwinkle jelly gel and just applying it over the entire nail. I'm really trying to build up some depth here so the design feels more layered and is very interesting to look at. Then I am taking a different type of foil flakes. These ones shift from blue to yellow, and I'm just placing them randomly across the nails, just for a little bit of extra sparkle. I'm using a silicone tool to press them down so they are adhered fully. And next I'm grabbing another little palette with a bunch of different glitter gels, and I'm using this bright silver one to add a few sparkly accents. Once again, this step probably could have been skipped, because I'm going to cover up most of these areas. Then I'm taking another painting gel palette and I'm going to be using the white from it. We're very frugal in this house, so I am going to be using the exact same sponge. I'm just flipping it over to the clean side. I'm dabbing a little bit of white gel onto the areas that don't have the dark blue color on them, and then I'm blending it out with a sponge. I kinda hate using the padding gels this close to the cuticle because it's really easy to accidentally get them all over your skin. And while I know that the peel off skin defenders exist, I'm just way too lazy to use them. You have to wait for them to dry. Accidentally put a little too much on the tips, so I'm going to wipe some of it away. And then I go back in with the silver glitter because I kind of covered it fully up with the white gel. Next, I'm grabbing another glitter palette and I will be using this purple glitter gel. I'm applying it in a long streak alongside the blue section of the nail. And then I am adding yet another layer of the periwinkle jelly gel. Honestly, there's no real rhyme or reason when I do marble designs. I mostly just go with whatever feels right. I feel like as long as you use lots of different colors, transparencies, and textures, the final result always ends up looking really interesting. Then I'm adding more of the custom jelly gel I mixed earlier, creating some relatively thin lines and softly blending them out. After that, I felt like it's a little bit too dark for my liking, so I added a teeny tiny bit of milky white jelly gel over just some of the darker areas to brighten everything back. And that's the finished marble base. Before I started this design, I purposefully kept my builder gel overlay as thin as possible because I knew that this design is going to end up really thick. So I'm going to do majority of the overlay now. Here you can see how thin and uneven the nail was before the overlay. And here's the before and after on the ring finger. I wish I had the superpower to apply builder gel perfectly enough that I wouldn't have to file afterwards, but unfortunately I don't. So I wipe off the sticky layer with alcohol and file everything until the shape is all nice and smooth, because there's nothing that I hate more than a bulky, uneven nail. Okay, filing is done, and next I'm taking out some Aurora foil along with a stamping plate I'm going to be using later since they're stored in the same album. I got this foil from AliExpress and I'm still so sad because it got sold out almost immediately after I bought it, and by the time I received it and went back to order more, the listing had disappeared, and it was the only place I was able to find this thicker kind of Aurora foil. So if anyone knows where I can buy it and it will ship internationally, please let me know, because I'm still so sad that I only picked up 2 colors when there was like 5 available. I'm going to be doing that Aurora ice foil design that was really popular a few years ago on my index finger and pinky. I'm absolutely terrible at cutting this foil into the right shape. YouTubers always make it look so easy, so I'm genuinely not sure if they're just editing out the struggle, kind of like I did here, or if I'm actually just exceptionally bad at it. But it always ends up looking super uneven and lopsided, and it takes me a really long time to even it out, so it's symmetrical. I did the pinky one completely off camera because, trust me, the struggle was very real. Next, I'm wiping both pieces with some alcohol to make sure that they're all nice and clean. And then I'm using the same builder gel as before to attach them. I just put some builder gel on the middle of the nail and gently place the foil onto the gel. I use my little pin cure light and I press down by the cuticle first and cure just that area, and then I press down the foil by the nail tip and cure that as well. Now I am filling all the gaps around the edges of the foil with the builder gel, making sure that there are no bubbles or empty spaces. And now the most satisfying part of the whole video, overlaying it with builder gel. Oh my god, this is so sexy. I know a lot of people say that those Aurora ice nails end up looking really bulky, but I think when you attach it this way and you do it before the final overlay, they end up not too thick. Like, they're definitely a little thicker than a regular nail, but I think it's still very wearable. Next, I'm using a technique that I saw Shuni Nail here on YouTube use all the time. Instead of rubbing Aurora powder on top of the foil, I'm applying a layer of jelly gel over it. It is such a genius idea. I never really liked the look of Aurora powder on top of the foil, but the jelly gel just tints the foil instead, and it creates this beautiful glow, and it looks like it's coming from underneath. I love this idea. After that, I am using a silver cat eye with a clear base. I'm just applying it over the entire nail and using those round magnet beads to create a pattern that reminds me of sunlight reflecting on water. It's so pretty. And then I'm doing the exact same thing on the pinky. I really love those clear base cat eyes. I just wish I could find more colors. So far I've only seen some super basic ones like silver, gold, and pink. I would love to have one with like blue or purple particles. Next, I'm wiping off the sticky layer because it is time for stamping. I'm using this water ripple stamping plate. Before I start, I like to lay everything out so it's easy to grab because you have to work really fast when doing stamping. So I got my stamper, scraper, acetone for cleanup, and some paper towel ready. I'm using this Born Pretty stamping polish. This one is air dry. I apply it all over the design, scrape off the excess, and pick it up with the stamper. Please excuse my hair invading the frame. Then I stamp the pattern across the whole nail. I clean everything with acetone in between each round of stamping. And here I finished the pinky as well. And to seal everything in, I'm applying a super thin layer of base gel over the stamping so it doesn't smudge or rub off. And oh my god, we're finally done with the base design. Next, I'm bringing out all the decorations that I'm going to be using. We've got charms, chains, little bubble beads. Everything is kinda ocean related. I'm also using some clear Aurora rhinestones. Those crystal colored flatback rhinestones that I apparently didn't close properly and they just spilled everywhere. Haha, classic. Some V-cut rhinestones, a few tiny metal charms, and of course some pearls. You have your beads in 2 different sizes. And these clear stones, I have no idea what they're actually called, but they're really pretty. I brought out the blue ones and the clear iridescent ones. Okay, let's start decorating the thumb. This charm is kind of awkwardly shaped, like it curves in the opposite direction of how the nail usually goes. So the top and bottom stick up quite a bit. I am going to fix it by using a pair of pliers to gently bend that top section down. You can see how much I actually had to bend it, but now it sits much more flush against the nail. It's a very useful trick, but you do have to be careful not to bend the prongs that hold the stones in place or the crystals can fall out. I am attaching it with solid gel. Solid gel is such a lifesaver for larger charms. There's no way this giant charm would stay straight if I attached it with just the regular gel. Then I'm filling the center opening with some more solid gel because I want to place a V-cut rhinestone inside. I always wipe the back of the rhinestone with alcohol first to remove any oils from my hands touching it. Although, to be fair, it didn't help much this time because one of these stones still managed to fall out while I was wearing the set. It's always so heartbreaking. But unfortunately, there's no way to make sure that the V-cut stones stay completely secure unless you encapsulate them with gel completely, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of using them. Now, I am framing the charm with chain. Look at me using chain instead of caviar beads for once. I guess by this point I've already spent so much time on the base design that I was okay with speeding things a little bit. Adding another rhinestone on top, and then a pearl and a caviar bead. After that, I added another small section of chain because it still felt a little empty. I think this thumb ended up being the star of the whole set. Absolutely love how it turned out. This charm is just so big and beautiful, and I love placing clear rhinestones over glitter because the sparkle underneath shines right through them, and the purple glitter underneath here matches the purple shift of the stone, and I think it looks so pretty. Then I'm mixing some caviar beads into a little bit of gel on my palette so they're easier to pick up and place. Since this is my statement nail, I don't want to leave a single empty space, so I'm filling the area around the cuticle with more rhinestones, pearls, and caviar beads. Oh my god, look how pretty it is! Now we're moving on to the index finger. I'm starting with a nice blob of solid gel. Then I'm placing one of these clear bubble beads. I'm assuming that they're actually beads, even though I bought them from a nail supply store because they do have a hole running through the middle. But once I encapsulated them with clear gel all over, that hole basically disappeared. So it ends up looking like a solid good bubble. Then I'm placing this little fish so it looks like it's kinda sitting on top of the bubble. Then I'm taking some tiny V-cut rhinestones and adding them around the charm for a little extra sparkle. And of course some pearls and caviar beads and this tiny sparkle charm. On the opposite end of the nail, I'm making another little cluster with a pearl, a bow, and a rhinestone. And then I'm adding this tiny shell. Oh, it's so cute. I genuinely think this is one of my favorite nail sets that I've ever made. Now we're moving on to the middle finger. I am placing this big dangle charm with a little fishtail and a starfish. Next to it, I'm adding a rectangular V-cut clear rhinestone. Then another bubble bead, and I am filling the empty space around everything with those clear stones. I just place them wherever I think they will look nice. Then I add a few rhinestones and caviar beads. The clear stones don't stand out a whole lot by themselves, so by putting caviar beads in between them, I make everything pop just a teeny bit more. Now moving on to the ring finger. Once again, I'm starting with some solid gel and a clear V-cut rhinestone, placing it along the side of the nail. Felt like something was missing, so I added some of the iridescent flakes I used earlier into the solid gel. And then placed the stone on top, and oh my god, it is so pretty. Then I'm adding a few charms around it, a little coral piece, and this short section of twisted chain that I love using to fill empty spaces. Of course, another bubble. Then I place this bar charm running along the nail. And after that, I'm wrapping chain around part of the rhinestone and letting it go over the bar charm. I realized that it was not long enough, so I swapped it out for a longer one. Then I'm filling the remaining empty spaces with rhinestones, pearls, and caviar beads. It still looked a little empty to me, so I added another piece of chain and a tiny rhinestone on top of the bar. And that's the finished ring finger. Finally, moving on to the pinky. I'm making a little cluster with 3 V-cut rhinestones and placing caviar beads between them. Then I'm adding a few pearls around the cluster. Following the same idea as the index finger, I'm placing a bubble bead and a little seashell on the opposite end of the nail, along with a few rhinestones and caviar beads. By this point, you can probably tell that I was pretty tired. It was probably super late and I was struggling really hard to stay in frame. But we're finally done decorating. Now I'm going to encapsulate all of the charms with builder gel. I always do the final overlay in 2 steps. First I use some builder gel and then I finished everything with top coat. The reason I do that is because thick layers of top coat can sometimes cure with a little yellow tint, and the top coat is also softer than builder gel. I also just prefer my top coat to be on an extremely thin side just because it self-levels really well and leaves everything super smooth. So yeah, it is a little more work doing it in 2 steps, but I think the result is worth it. I make sure to cover all the pearls and the bubble beads really well because they stick up quite a bit and the coating on them tends to wear off pretty quickly if they're left exposed. Now I'm going in with the final layer of top coat. I'm using my favorite one from Vanalisa. After trying a lot of different top coats, including ones that were much more expensive, this one is still my favorite. I'm covering everything except for the rhinestones and the big zircon charms. Those charms have a special plating on them that keeps them from discoloring over time. But the simpler metal ones, like the fish and the coral, don't have that same kind of coating, so they're much more likely to tarnish. That's why I make sure to seal those in really well with top coat. And we're finally done! Please like, subscribe, and kiss your pets for me. I'll see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye!